No, it is not the year 2000. I want to go over a few things with you guys, things I should have done differently when I built this tubular manifold, things that I should have had in place that I didn't. First thing is obviously this dipstick. I had to make a custom dipstick because this isn't the original route that it takes. When you're building it, you obviously want to make sure you have the correct protrusion of the stick itself in the tube. That way you know you're measuring the correct amount of oil that you should be. You don't want to have to think you got the right amount in there and don't. Obviously you see I've got plenty of clearance down in here. I could have come out a lot further, got it away from that water tube. Made a bunch of pie cuts down here on my exhaust to connect to the original downpipe that I had. So a bunch of minor cuts there. I'm a little bit close to my valve cover. I'm not really digging that, but I'm going to deal with it. I wish I would have brought it up higher in this area, but I was really worried about hood clearance. It's one of them things that's kind of hard to see until you're actually got it all welded up and everything. Stick your hand up in there. But yeah, I had plenty of room out here. Should have moved it out a little bit, but that's what your first one's all about. Try to help you guys out if you're building one. Another thing you want to pay attention to is this motor mount bracket right down here. Your roll stop, you know, that way you got enough clearance on your compressor housing and everything. That way you're not too low, and figure that out. Things you want to have installed when you're mocking it up if you are rebuilding a car that everything's not already in there. Definitely want to have your water pipe. Definitely want to have your dipstick. Definitely want to have your power steering pump and your alternator if you decide not to reroute it, which I did mine. Obviously, you know, they burn up pretty easy with the setup like this. Definitely want to have your fans in here and located right. That way you know you got enough clearance down in here and everything. So see what else we got. Let's go under the car for a minute. You do want to have your transmission and your transfer case bolted in. That way when you run the downpipe, you know you're in the correct position. Yeah, you can follow the groove in the pan, but it's always best to be centered between the both. So the oil filter and the oil filter housing needs to be on there also. This oil filter will come off, obviously not with this clamp in the position that it's in right now. I do have to spin that around, but it does come off freely without having to take anything apart, so that's always a plus for, you know, for maintenance. That's something I'm going to be doing a lot. I bought this oil return line from Extreme PSI. Big waste of money. It was like $80. There was a fitting that screwed into this flange. It was a pipe thread, so it didn't come all the way in the fitting itself. But by the time I had the fitting screwed into the flange and then this coupler for the line itself, you know, it come down to about right here. Well, that's just way too long. We're talking, you know, 4 inches. It's just way too much. I don't even know why the hell they sold the kit like that unless I got it hooked up wrong. But I doubt it. You can see a little bit of Cobra head in here. I'm not really digging that. Hopefully that's something that won't be a big issue, but I'll put a spring on it or I'll just get a different fitting to try to smooth everything out. I opted for the weld-on fitting here, so I welded that fitting on. Yeah, obviously it's steel, it's rusting. So you kind of see what I'm working with here, you know, pretty tight down in here. You want to make sure your clearance between the motor mount and your oil return line is okay. You definitely don't want that rub and roll. Nobody likes a roll tube, right? Try to get you some block clearance of the turbine housing. Quite a bit of clearance up in there, you can see. Yep, I should have bought the aluminum wrenches for the end lines. Fucked them up already. That's alright, because nobody's going to see it but me. So that's pretty much it. Things you should have installed that, you know, are concerned with the fit up and everything. You definitely don't want to put stuff together and have to cut it back apart. That always sucks. Everybody does it and it's no fun. So hopefully you can try to learn something from my mistakes and things that I should have done differently. Obviously, you know, I've got about $250 in this manifold, which is a lot better than $1,100-$1,200, you know, that people charge to build something like this. But then you're guaranteed fit up and everything, but still, that's a lot of money you're talking about for just a little bit of supplies and time. Definitely helps to have a little bit of fabrication experience, and welding experience is definitely a plus. I used 1.5 inch or 1 3/4 Schedule 10 stainless. The flanges were steel, I really couldn't find any stainless ones, and if I did, they would probably be $200 for the header flange. I think I paid $120 for that one for mild steel, which was pretty pricey. So how I mocked this up, I got this turbo rigged up and held into position, which was a pain in the ass because it's heavier than hell. Definitely not something easy to do by yourself. Guess I don't have any friends that want to help me. But what I did is I bolted the flange up. I got the collector built. You can see the collector kind of had it all welded together. And I measured everything out, and then I tack welded it here. And then I built everything at work on the table. So it was definitely bring it home, fit it up, make sure everything fit right. First problem I ran into was this runner right here was coming straight across the compressor housing. Obviously it didn't fit good. The turbo wouldn't bolt up. So I put 245s in there to try to give some clearance. Worked out perfect, looked so good. I did it to this side too. So I definitely helped out with my dipstick tube that I ran into with the issue later on after everything was done. So that's pretty much it, really. Everybody calls it the Medusa head. Here's some other little bit of my car. I've got a 2.3 stroker and a drag transmission. Hopefully I'm looking for 500 to 600 horse, but we'll see what happens. You never know. It might not even start up. I'll just spin a bearing right away. That would be my worst nightmare. But, yep. It's definitely a work in progress here. I've never drove this car actually. I bought it with the spun bearing, so it could be cursed already. But we'll see what happens, I guess. Alright, maybe I'll get you guys another video when I actually fire this piece of shit up and see what happens.